Welcome to the Turing test. Your daily deep dives. Today we're ripping into a hot myth that stacking more parameters on a language model automatically makes it smarter.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really pumped to get into this because, it's way more nuanced than just a big number on a specification sheet.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. GPT-3 burst onto the scene in 2020 with its 175 billion parameters, blowing minds everywhere. But then GPT-4 dropped, with all that buzz about 1+ trillion parameters. And yet, as they say, size was only part of the equation.
Yep.
The training methods and data quality played huge roles too.
Right. So it's like you can have a massive puzzle, but if your pieces are all the same color or shaped poorly, the picture just won't come together.
Exactly. It's like stacking blocks without ensuring they fit well. With GPT-3, the breakthrough was general-purpose text generation at scale. But then GPT-4 showed that mixing in reinforcement learning from human feedback, the RLHF, and higher quality, curated data changed the game entirely.
So, you're saying that while size sets the ceiling, the training sets the altitude?
Precisely. And then there's GPT-4o, announced in May 2024, which introduced real-time voice and vision capabilities. They didn't just throw more parameters at the problem, they made architectural tweaks and focused on lowering the latency.
Exactly.
It's performance gains per flop, not just raw girth.
That's a really interesting pivot. It makes you wonder, does bigger really mean smarter?
Right on cue. Our first big question. Does bigger equal better? GPT-3 was groundbreaking, but as soon as GPT-4 rolled out, the emphasis shifted from just size to, the nuances of training.
I've always found it a bit counterintuitive, honestly. I mean, isn't a larger model supposed to capture more context or nuance?
Sure, there's a correlation, but think of it like this. It's like stacking boxes. You might have, heaps of boxes, yet if they're not arranged correctly, the whole structure could topple. GPT-4, for instance, leveraged
Right.
RLHF to fine-tune its responses, transforming raw predictive text into more aligned human-like results.
So, in a sense, size is just one factor in a multivariable equation.
Spot on. And this naturally brings us to our second question. Are we hitting diminishing returns by scaling up parameters endlessly? DeepMind's Chinchilla paper back in March 2022 showed that a 70 billion parameter model, when fed with quadruple the training tokens, could actually outperform a 280 billion parameter model.
Wow, that's wild. So it's like more isn't necessarily merrier, and there's a balancing act between data quality and model size.
Exactly. And then the follow-up, accounting for inference study in 2024, really sharpened that point. It argued that if you factor in deployment costs, the sweet spot might shrink even further, because now you're spending a fortune on electricity and GPUs for only marginal gains.
Absolutely. Can you imagine the CFOs getting jittery over an extra 1-point bump on a benchmark?
Precisely. That's why our discussion isn't just about scaling up for the sake of prestige. Now moving on to question 3. Could clever architectural designs outgun raw size increase?
Oh, for sure. Something like using mixture of experts, sparse attention, or low-rank adaptation, right?
Absolutely. These techniques allow certain parts of the model to light up only when needed. It's like having a massive toolkit, but tapping into just the right tool for each job. With methods like internal expert routing in GPT-4 and similar innovations in Google's Gemini Ultra and Anthropic's Claude 3, the idea is to get more performance without scaling the whole thing up in a brute force way.
So essentially, you could have a model that appears to have 1 trillion parameters virtually, but only a few billion are actively used per token. That's like having your cake and eating just a calorie fraction of it.
Exactly right. This smarter routing results in faster responses and a much cheaper inference cost, which is brilliant for developers and users alike.
And that segues nicely into question 4. Will smaller, more specialized models eventually eclipse those behemoths?
Yes, indeed. 2024 was dubbed the year of the mini model by Scientific American. Think about it. Apple's on-device LLM for iPhones, Microsoft's release of Phi 3, and open-source projects like Mistral 7b have practically shocked everyone by hitting near GPT 3.5 quality with just a fraction of the parameters.
Right, and in fields where latency and privacy are key, like in hospitals, autonomous drones, or even smart glasses, edge-friendly models simply shine.
Absolutely. With techniques like LoRa, even startups can develop domain-specific bots without needing a supercomputer. It's a move toward an ecosystem of nimble specialists that can cover 90% of real-world use cases, rather than relying solely on massive generalists.
Exactly. But let me challenge that a bit. Aren't there scenarios where only a larger model can capture enough nuance for complex conversations or creativity?
That's a fair critique. Yet, it really depends on the task. For many specialized applications, the slight nuance boost from a giant model isn't worth the higher latency and cost. Instead, these mini-models, being purpose-built, often deliver sufficient quality with better efficiency.
Right, got it. Makes sense. Now, on to the final and perhaps the most critical question. What about the environmental and economic ceilings of scaling?
Yes. Question 5. Training a model like GPT-4 reportedly consumed tens of megawatt hours. And according to a June 2025 Stanford report, if the current trends continue unabated, global AI demand might hit 3% of the world's electricity by 2030.
That really puts things in perspective. With such massive energy consumption, even marginal improvements could have huge cost and environmental implications.
Exactly. And then there's the data problem. A Substack newsletter dubbed 2025 the synthetic summer, warning how low-signal synthetic texts might be flooding the web. If you train on garbage data, no matter how huge the model, the outputs will be garbage.
Absolutely. So it really circles back to the core idea: quality over quantity.
Absolutely. The key takeaway is that while bigger models unlocked spectacular capabilities in the early days, the next wave of breakthroughs lies in optimizing training techniques, ensuring data quality, and fine-tuning architectural efficiency.
And that means now the parameter count is just one small part of a much longer equation for real-world performance.
Exactly right. When you see a headline boasting 1 trillion parameters, ask yourself, what's the token budget? How's the alignment layer configured? Is it sparse or dense? Those details are what ultimately predict the model's real-world value.
Yep, that's spot on. It's really fascinating to see how our approach to AI is evolving from sheer scaling to smarter, more efficient use of resources.
Right. The industry is moving towards a balanced approach, using better data, more innovative training methods, and clever architecture tweaks. It's not about brute force anymore. It's about strategic investments in every part of the system.
Given all this, I'd say the future of AI is set to be driven by a combination of size, smarts, and, who knows, maybe concepts we haven't even dreamed of yet.
Amen to that. It's like the next breakthrough might come from self-critique loops, or multimodal grounding, rather than just adding more neurons. I mean, it's like, there's always a new angle to explore in AI development.
Exactly. And that makes it incredibly exciting. The hype around massive parameter numbers might be cooling off, but the innovation is far from dead.
Definitely. Each improvement, whether in training techniques, data curation, or architectural innovations, adds a new dimension to what these models can do. It's the evolution from bigger to better.
Which is music to the ears of developers and, frankly, our planet too. Efficiency matters not just for performance, but also for energy and cost.
Exactly. So, overall, while those big numbers turned heads initially, the real secret sauce now lies in the details. Reinforcing that train on gold, not garbage, is still the mantra.
Yep, absolutely. And that wraps it up neatly. We've covered everything from the parameter myth to diminishing returns, clever architectures, the rise of mini-models, and even the environmental trade-offs.
Right. It's been a deep and engaging dive into how the landscape is shifting. The future is not just about bigger models, but smarter ones, where every token and every operation counts.
Exactly. I love this discussion. It's a reminder that metrics and hype need to be balanced with true performance and sustainability in mind.
Absolutely. It's a call for a more nuanced, balanced approach that the industry is already beginning to adopt.
Thanks for this deep dive today. It really challenges the notion that bigger is always better and opens up so many exciting avenues for future AI research.
Indeed it does. And for anyone following along, remember, when you see those trillion parameter headlines, dig a little deeper into the training, the data, and the architecture. That's where the real innovation lies.
Right on. Exactly. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to like, share, and let us know your thoughts, both praises and critiques. Till next time, keep questioning the hype.